Now that the pandemic is well and truly behind us, but not really, we've finally been able to crawl from our hovels, once more venture out into the wide world and meet up with friends. And what better way to spend some quality time with your best buds than crawling back into those hovels and sitting around a TV with some beers and snacks, screaming at one another as you vie for gaming supremacy and bragging rights. Well, today my friends, as always I have a selection of 10 non-AAA offerings curated by yours truly, most of which I've played myself and a few of which are now queued up for my next party night, but all come highly recommended, and all of the games in today's list feature at least 4-player local multiplayer. So without further ado, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more lists like this, as well as weekly Switch game reviews, as I present you with 10 fantastic competitive party games on the Nintendo Switch, plus 70 more. So first up on today's list then we have Stick Fight the Game, and this is one of my favourites to play as a warm-up game and really get people into the mood for some competitive multiplayer. The great thing about this one though is it's incredibly simple, both in terms of its gameplay mechanics and just to get right on into, as you simply need to drop players in and then start the game, as there's no real setup required. The objective though is to simply just be the last stickman standing as you attempt to eliminate your opponents by punching, kicking, shooting, or simply knocking them off the edge of the arenas, and the game really is the epitome of fast and frantic gameplay, as the levels fly by at an eye-blistering pace, with them usually lasting no longer than 30 seconds at most. It's a simple game, but a great one to kick off a party games night with. The next title on our list may be one of the more well-known ones, but SpeedRunners remains an absolute gem of a title and guaranteed to get the rivalries going, perhaps more than any of the other games in today's lineup. Racing your way around an assortment of ingeniously designed tracks, you're tasked with breaking away from the pack far enough to eliminate the rest of the runners as the play area slowly shrinks around you. At your disposal you have a selection of gadgets and weapons designed to hold back your pursuers or take the lead, with a well-timed hookshot sending you sailing into first place, and the game is as much about utilising these weapons effectively as it is memorising the level layouts and taking shortcuts to optimise your route through them. This one though is one that I've played every single time I've had a bunch of friends together, and it always goes down well. If you're looking to add a little bit of FPS action to your games night, then look no further than Screencheat Unplugged, a fantastically addictive arena shooter with an incredibly unique twist, as every player is in fact invisible. In order to locate and eliminate your opponents, you're going to have to do a spot of screen cheating, or as we called it back in the GoldenEye days, screen watching, keeping a constant eye on your opponent's portion of the split screen and outsmarting their wandering eyes as you blast them into oblivion. It's a great concept though, and has a great selection of weapons and maps for you to compete on, and unlike other shooters on the Switch, nobody can get called out for being a cheater, as you're all as bad as each other. Up next we have probably one of the weirdest and wackiest party games ever to grace the console, as Nippon Marathon makes our list, and this is not one that I've played myself, but after learning about it whilst doing research for this list, it's instantly gone into my lineup. This one though is like those racing games from Takeshi's Castle, only on steroids and acid and whatever else you can find at the bottom of that pill sack, and it basically involves selecting from a bizarre cast of characters and then racing them through crowded subways, sake distilleries, across rice fields and motorways. Add a hefty dose of Total Wipeout to the mix and some Mario Kart style pickups, and you've got a recipe for disaster, of the good kind of course. There's also a bunch of absurdly random minigames for you to partake in, which often trigger halfway through a race, and all in all this one looks as mad as a box of frogs, but also as addictive as hell. While no epic gaming night would be complete without mentioning Gang Beasts, and for good reason, as this is by far one of the most hilariously frustrating brawlers on the platform. As with other games of this ilk, the objective is simple: eliminate your opponents by throwing them out of the arena, which may mean off the side of moving trucks, out of wrestling rings, or into the jaws of slowly rotating meat grinders. But half the battle with this one comes from how unbelievably awkward our jelly-legged fighters are to control, as you wildly flail your fists around looking to land a haymaker or grab onto anything and everything you can get your mitts on. The control scheme though is what makes the game so hysterically entertaining, as you're just as likely to eliminate yourself as another player, and latching onto them to take them down with you is by far one of the best ways ever to lose a game. So the Worms games have long been one of my go-tos for local competitive multiplayer, and while we don't get the best Worms game on the Switch, that being Worms 2 Armageddon, we do get the next best thing with Worms W.M.D. Now, if you've never played a Worms game, you essentially get a team of 4 worms to control, which are plopped down into randomly generated landscapes, and each player takes it in turn to utilise one of the many weapons at their disposal to eliminate worms from the opposing teams. Where this one stands out though is when the rivalries start to form, as if one player appears to be breaking ahead of the pack, with them having one extra worm or just a little bit more life, I guarantee that you'll see people teaming up to take them down. But emerging victorious requires plenty of tactical decision making and skillful precision with your aiming and shot taking, and there's been many a times that I've thrown a grenade only to have it bounce right back down on my head, wiping out the last worm in my team. Truly a classic party game though this one, and well deserving of a spot on our list. If you're looking for somewhat of a lesser known gem in the competitive party game roster, then look no further than Night Squad 2, a game which I reviewed right here on the channel, and definitely one of the more content heavy games on our list today. This one though is kind of like if you took classic Bomberman and then shoved it into a blender with a bunch of classic game modes from other genres, and what you get is a top-down arena brawler with 13 uniquely different game modes, all of which can be customised to your liking. These include straight up deathmatches, capture the flag and domination modes, to a soccer game, a SpeedRunners-esque racing game, and even one which is reminiscent of MOBAs such as League of Legends, complete with waves of minions and crystals to destroy. It's definitely one that comes highly recommended from me though. It supports up to 8 players in local multiplayer, and for the amount of variety on offer, I'd say it definitely provides a huge amount of bang for your buck. Up next then we have TowerFall, a game which may be one of the older titles in today's list, but has nonetheless stood the test of time when it comes to competing with the best arena brawlers out there. Unlike games like Smash and Brawlhalla, which are all about getting up close and personal with your opponents, TowerFall is all about precision and fast reactions, with each player armed with a bow and a limited amount of arrows which must be collected after firing. The game's screen wrapping arenas do feature a variety of perils for you to snag, including a bunch of different arrow types, but skillful shooting is key in this one, as is mastering the all-important dodge button, and it's one of those easy to learn, hard to master games with a high skill cap, but it's still incredibly accessible and as addictive as they come. A bit of a wild card next then with Crawl, a game which does away with the traditional player vs player scenario and instead pits 3 players against 1. The one player controlling a dungeon crawling hero, and the other 3 commanding vengeful spirits, able to activate traps and possess monsters, as they attempt to stop the hero from levelling up and reaching and beating the dungeon's boss. Successfully kill the hero though and be the one to get the last hit on them, and then you'll become the hero and take your turn at dominating the dungeon. And the game features over 60 playable monsters, randomly generated dungeon layouts, and a huge variety of weapons, spells and items for you to utilise. An incredibly unique concept though, and another one that has been added to my list of must plays for my next gaming night. The penultimate game on our list today then is MageQuit, a game which I just actually found out about, but one that looks like it may just be another hidden gem of the arena brawler genre. Each player though takes control of a wizard, with the objective being to have the longest beard at the end of 9 rounds, with kills on other players giving your beard the fuel it needs to grow. As each round goes by though, the wizards become more powerful, with players able to build their own unique arsenal of spells, and while things start off relatively tame, they quickly become incredibly chaotic, with multiple spells flying about all over the place. The game's low poly aesthetic definitely makes it look more on the budget end of the spectrum, but after having seen the gameplay, I feel like this one is a sleeper hit which deserves much more attention than it's getting. So to round off today's list then, we have another unusual one with Ultimate Chicken Horse, a game which on the surface appears to be a standard party platformer, but boasts a really unique gameplay premise with potentially an infinite amount of replayability. Now the objective in Ultimate Chicken Horse is to platform your way to the end of a level, but in a similar manner to the Mario Maker games, the levels themselves are actually created by the players, with each selecting the platforms and obstacles they want to add to the level. After each round, the level's design is iterated on, with additional tracks and platforms added, slowly increasing its complexity and challenge. But here's the kicker: if nobody completes the level, nobody gets any points, and if everybody completes it, again, nobody gets any points. So the challenge here is to create a level that's too difficult for your opponents to complete, but that you yourself are actually able to reach the end of. It's an awesome little concept for a game though, and one that's only really limited by player creativity, and in my opinion, a definite must add to any party night games collection. And so that about rounds off today's selection of competitive party games. Hopefully I was able to highlight something here today that you maybe weren't aware of. So are you planning a gaming night anytime soon, and will you be picking up any of the titles that I mentioned today? Let me know down in the comments section below, and please do drop a comment with your own personal favourite competitive party games, as I'm always looking to expand on my own collection. As always, do me the honours of hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel if you're looking for more lists like this, which if you haven't already checked out, I actually have several of, including the best family friendly co-op games, a list of almost every brawler on the platform, and the best retro-like FPS games on the Switch, and I also publish weekly game reviews. With that said though, I did an extensive amount of research for this list, and so I'm going to leave you with a quick-fire roundup of another 70 competitive local multiplayer games, 99% of which are well worth a play, and you'll find links to all of the games listed in the description and comment section below. For now though, I just want to thank you all once again for watching, and until next time, take care of yourselves, and game on.